Hey guys, what's up? I remember very clearly the smell of my first guitar. I remember how hard it was actually to play A minor and then to shift to C. I remember sitting in the living room and my mom was telling me basically, you gotta practice. And that feeling of trying to figure it out is a very hard feeling that I understand we all go through it. What I want to talk about today is how to practice and basically how to kill it. I want to go over 10 points that really helps me and that I'm doing a lot. These key points will help you progress much faster and really kill it. At the end, I'll also show you guys my practice routine. So let's go. If you like these kind of videos and want me to be able to do more, the best way to support it is by liking this video, commenting, maybe sharing it. I also have a Patreon page with some information and PDFs. Thank you. 1. The plan. Whether you want to play Beatles music next to the campfire or you want to play your own music and tour the world with that, both of them have a learning curve and a very clear goal. So the first step is identify what you actually want to do. After you've done that, I would take a piece of paper and write down on that, what do you think you need to know in order to play that style? Now, if it's jazz, classical music, blues, or singer-songwriter, all these have different learning curves and different information that you actually need to know, different facility on the guitar, and that's very important. So write it down right now so you understand exactly where you're going and what are the fragments that you actually need to use and know to create. 2. The timer concept. Now, there have been a lot of research about athletes and how we learn things, and one of the interesting things that people discovered is that it's not as useful to play and practice an hour, whether it's sports or music, an hour of the same thing versus shorter segments with breaks. So I'm gonna explain how I go about it and what I'm doing with that. I used to tell myself, okay, now I'm gonna play C major scale for an hour and a half. I'm gonna put the metronome and just dive in, which I did. It wasn't bad, but I always noticed that the first 5 minutes of my practice were much, much better. After 5 minutes, I started thinking about pasta and other things, which are of course important, but not necessarily as important as what I'm trying to do. So when you're using a timer, you're basically practicing the first couple of minutes of your practice. What I did was starting with 3-minute segments and then I shifted to 5 minutes. You can find your own time and what works for you. But the point is understanding where am I drifting off. What I'll do is taking 4 different subjects. For example, A can be C major with a metronome on 60 BPM. Then B can be maybe triads. C might be chromatic scale. And D might be augmented triads. Now, each one of them will have a different click. Sometimes I'll do it more complex, sometimes more simple, but oftentimes with different tempos as well. So I'm trying to change the color and I'm trying to be as engaged as possible. So I'll practice A for a couple of minutes, then it's actually with a timer. So the timer will go off and I'll be like, okay, I'm stopping, that's it. Then shifting to the next one. The idea is that you want to be as present, as attentive, and as listenative, that's not even a word, as possible when you're practicing. That way you absorb the information much, much faster. I'll have different things I'm working on. This is triads, chromatic, 7 chords, subdivision, diminish, 5, 7, legato, different ideas. I'll pick 3-4 ideas and shift between them. A, B, C, C, B, A. Shift the order so it's always fresh. So if I want to practice triads for 15 minutes, instead of being 1 chunk of 15 minutes, it's 3 chunks of 5 or 5 chunks of 3. Whatever you want as long as you are focused. 3. Anchor climbing. In contrast to what I just said, sometimes you want to spend quite a few hours on a subject until you kind of hit that wall and climb up and owning that element that you're practicing. So if you're working on voice leading, sometimes I'll just spend an hour or two maybe just messing around with these ideas until I feel I'm hearing it better and not putting a timer. Ready for point 4? 4. Listen to yourself. So point 4 is actually very connected to the climbing. What I'm trying to do here is understand what I'm feeling today. Our target is listening and being present as much as possible. Some days we're not as focused, so we need the timer. Some people are not as organized, so they need the timer. Certain periods for myself, I need the timer. But sometimes you are in the zone and you don't need the timer. So allowing yourself to understand and judge for yourself what you need on that specific day is very helpful. Not telling yourself, okay, I need to work with a timer and I need to suffer. Or not working with a timer and having hard time with structure. I feel there's need to be a balance. And that balance is something you need to practice and find for yourself. 5. Transcriptions. So music is like a language. You want to transcribe, you want to listen to something external, understand what's going on there, and be able to repeat it. It doesn't always need to be full solos. It doesn't always need to be complex things. It could be one line. It could be a couple of chords. It could be, maybe it's just a cool Beatles song that you love. Maybe it's just a Brad Mello phrase that you just can't get enough of. Sounds weird. In any case, you understand it. The point is we're trying to do it every day, listening and trying to absorb the style that we're trying to learn. 6. Our ears. Music is the art of listening. I feel like I said that line before. It's like a line now. Great. But seriously, I'm very honest about it. And I feel that a lot of times we spend a lot of time trying to play scales, which are great, but we're not listening, which is weird because we are trying to play music. So make sure you are working on your ears every day. You can sing the scale, you can listen, you can do exercises, you can get I found this online app called Melodia. It's like an ear training thing. Check it out. I mean, there are many options. The point is you can practice by yourself with a friend, but the idea is that you put time and attention into your ears. 7. Technical work. So we do need technical facility. Whether you're playing jazz, classical, rock, blues, we need to have some mechanic things that are working, right? We need to hit the strings, we need to make sounds. So it is a good idea to practice scales. It's very good to practice triads and arpeggios, but it's a better idea to practice them in a musical context. So I'm not saying I'm not practicing with the metronome outside in the lab. I do that, but very fast I'll bring that into the music. So I will not practice a blues scale for 5 hours in a vacuum. I will practice it with a click and then I'll soon bring it into the music and try to create with it. The point is that we learn by making connections to older pieces of information. Take new information and bring it back home. If you know the blues really well, great. Use that as an anchor. Every time you learn something, bring that piece into something that is very familiar, so it has more connection in this beautiful brain of yours. 8. Rhythm. This is huge. I did talk about it recently, but I want to keep encouraging. This is a big subject that we need to pay attention. So when you're practicing and working in your routine, make sure rhythm has a big place there. Some people have less experience, some people have more, but it's really never ending. I would make sure you are grooving. 9. Play with people. Yes, these times are not simple, I understand, but in general, try to play with people. I would not only play in my bedroom or living room, because music is a very interactive thing and we learn by making connections, by collaborating. So even if you can't play, maybe do an online collab with someone or a Zoom call where you think about music or something. Like, try to make it happen as much as you can, and being interconnected with people makes things happen. 10. Be truthful. You are practicing to learn and not impress yourself or someone sitting next to you. Now, I know it's hard, I do it as well, but we don't need to sound great in the practice room. The idea is that we're practicing things we don't know as much. You know, you're trying to learn, try not to judge yourself, and really allow yourself the space. Keep telling yourself, this is something that you can do if you just put your mind and attention. You need to be relaxed and come to it from a place of, let's do it. I hope these points were helpful for you guys. These are things I think about a lot, and I was happy and excited to share with you. Alright, so let's talk about my practice routine. So I oftentimes will write things on paper and think about it. The reason I like writing things is because I can see the options. If I'm saying to myself, I'm playing arpeggio from the 6th string, 3 octaves, so immediately I can understand. It's like, oh, I can play it from a different string, less octave, more octaves. So by writing things, we can see a lot of the options. I have different topics that I work on. Here I have triads, chromatic scale, 7 chords, subdivision 1 to 8, diminished augmented, playing some stuff in 5, some stuff in 7, and legato. These are technical elements that I would work on for a day, and then singing and reading music. Sometimes I'll be into like kind of Bach moment, or sometimes I'll just read some standards or kind of jazzy stuff. I'll do that for maybe a week or two, and then page 2, let's see what happened here. Here I decided to work on diminished scales more, melodic minor, some pentatonic ideas, more triads, 7 chords, chromatic augmented, and then I said music 2 hours. So in this period I decided to spend a little bit more time, or maybe just as much, on music. I know it's vague, but I knew what I meant when I wrote it. You know, I just wanted to play a standard and have different ideas that I'm working on. And then reading, and then again I changed. But the point is, I would write it down, even if it's a little vague. Try and be as clear as you can of what you're trying to do. And again, it's kind of ties in with also working with someone that has a mental image of what you're trying to do. So if you're trying to be a blues player, you know, find someone that is amazing. Find someone like Josh Smith, you know, like a master, a true master of the style, and try to see what they're doing, how they're going about it. Thank you so much for listening. I hope this was helpful and interesting. I'll see you guys very soon. Peace.